Do you think it's possible? You said you're not saying it's necessarily a good idea to launch a social network. Do you think it's possible today, maybe you can put yourself in those shoes, to launch a social network that achieves the scale of a Facebook or a Twitter or an Instagram and maybe even greater scale?
Absolutely.
How do you do it? Asking for a friend.
Yeah, if I knew, I'd probably be doing it right now and not
Yes.
sitting here.
So, I mean, there's a lot of ways to ask this question. One is create a totally new product market fit, create a new market, create something like Instagram did, which is like create something kind of new, or literally outcompete Facebook at its own thing, or outcompete Twitter at its own thing.
The only way to compete now, if you want to build a large social network, is to look for the cracks, look for the openings. You know, no one competed. I mean, no one competed with the core business of Google. No one competed with the core business of Microsoft. You don't go at the big guys doing exactly what they're doing. Instagram didn't win, quote unquote, because it tried to be a visual Twitter. Like, we spotted things that either Twitter wasn't going to do or refused to do, images and feed for the longest time, right? Or that Facebook wasn't doing or not paying attention to because they were mostly desktop at the time and we were purely mobile, purely visual. Often there are opportunities sitting there. You just have to, you have to figure out, like, I think like there's a strategy book, I can't remember the name, but talk about moats and just like the best place to play is where your competitor like literally can't pivot because structurally they're set up not to be there. And that's where you win. And what's fascinating is, like, do you know how many people were like, images? Facebook does that, Twitter does that. I mean, how wrong were they? Really wrong. And these are some of the smartest people in Silicon Valley, right? But now Instagram exists for a while. How is it that Snapchat could then exist? Makes no sense. Like, plenty of people would say, well, there's Facebook, no images. Okay, Instagram, I'll give you that one. But wait, now another image-based social network is going to get really big? And then TikTok comes along. Like, so you asked me, is it possible? The only reason I'm answering yes is because my prior is that it's happened once every, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 years consistently. And I can't imagine there's anything structurally that would change that. So that's why I answer that way. Not because I know how. I just, when you see a pattern, you see a pattern, and there's no reason to believe that's going to stop.
And it's subtle too, because like you said, Snapchat and TikTok, they're all doing the same space of things, but there's something fundamentally different about like a 3-second video and a 5-second video and a 15-second video and a 1-minute video and a 1-hour video,
right?
Like fundamentally different.
Fundamentally different. I mean, I think one of the reasons Snapchat exists is because Instagram was so focused on posting great, beautiful, manicured versions of yourself throughout time. And there was this enormous demand of like, hey, I really like this behavior. I love using Instagram, but man, I just like wish I could share something going on in my day. Like, do I really have to put it on my profile? Do I really have to make it last forever? Do I really? And that opened up a door. It created a market. Right. And then what's fascinating is Instagram had an explore page for the longest time, and it was image driven. Right. But there's absolutely a behavior where you open up Instagram and you sit on the explore page all day. That is effectively TikTok, but obviously focused on videos. And it's not like you could just put the explore page in TikTok form and it works. It had to be video. It had to have music. These are the hard parts about product development that are very hard to predict. But, they're all versions of the same thing with varying, like if you line them up in a bunch of dimensions, they're just like kind of they're different values of the same dimensions, which is like, I guess, easy to say in retrospect. But like, if I were an entrepreneur going after that area, I'd ask myself, like, where's the opening? What needs to exist because TikTok exists now?